Hello guys, welcome to DevStandup episode 30. And today our guest speaker is Olena. First of all, I would like to thank her for accepting our request being a guest speaker at DevStandup. And
Absolutely.
I would like to give a little bit information about our guest speaker. So Olena is an engineering lead at HubSpot with 13 years of experience in software engineering industry. And today our topic is called Orchestrator Shift, which is the definition of senior engineering. Olena is going to talk about how our work as software engineers is evolving in the AI times. And I would like to hand over the microphone to Olena, and she can kick off the session. So, Elena, here you are.
Hello, folks. I'm very happy to have this session. I'm happy to speak about this today. And to be honest, I think I'm going to speak about the obvious, but I want to elaborate more on what we are all experiencing right now. So it is obvious today that our job has changed. What we are doing today is very different from what we were doing even just a year ago. And I've been in this industry for over a decade, and right now I'm leading my engineering team through the biggest mindset shift I have seen through all my career. And this talk is my attempt to make sense out of it, to name the obvious changes, patterns, and to think about what this actually means for us. Okay, I want us to speak first about the good old days. So, not a long time ago, when an ad hoc request came to a team in the middle of the sprint, it meant only one thing. It meant that we have to drop something else. The capacity of a team was known and was limited. And the capacity, well, it remains limited. But what I noticed recently with my team, that we started absorbing these ad hoc requests without needing to drop anything else. And the answer to that, like the explanation to that, is quite straightforward. AI has allowed us to move faster, to produce more code, and we just haven't recalibrated our capacity in this new environment. But this made me think about like the next step of it. What's going to be the next limitation, the next hard constraint, if we can say so, the next bottleneck. I looked at the metrics, I talked to the team, and for my team at least, it is very obvious. Right now, it is code reviews. So we have way more code to be reviewed. And it is maybe, again, obvious. But again, I wanted to think about it in a more systemic way. So to do so, I borrowed a framework from manufacturing called the theory of constraints. So the thing is that this theory, the framework says that in any complex system, there's always one bottleneck. There cannot be 2, 5, no, always one. And then you fix one, and then a new one appears. So this framework, it gives us also the idea on how to reason about these bottlenecks. We have to identify, we have to exploit, meaning that we need to be sure that we are using the whole capacity of this step, which is a bottleneck. Then we need to align, meaning that we subordinate the other parts of the process to respect the bottleneck. Then we elevate. This is important. We make steps to improve the capacity, through output of our bottleneck. And then we iterate. So we repeat this again. So in our case, as we have already discussed, the coding part has been elevated. And now this bottleneck is resolved and a new one emerges, the code reviews, PRs. In our case, I'm not saying this is universal, but I can imagine that many teams are having the same. So I think many of you are thinking that in reality, AI can also review code. And this is true. I'm not gonna object. AI is very good at some things, is extremely good at many things, actually. It catches like the stupid bugs that you might miss, typos, it notices the patterns, it notices inconsistencies very well. But there is one thing that no AI is able to solve. AI doesn't care about the code that is approved, meaning that it doesn't own the consequence. Who owns the consequence is us, engineers, still. This remains. So I read this in one article that LLMs inherently lack laziness, meaning that they don't have this idea that, okay, something is a cognitive load, something is too large, something is too incomprehensible. For AIs, this doesn't exist. For us, exists, obviously. And I think my takeaway from here is that this is something no AI can replace. And this is not a functional gap. It is more a structural gap. It's not like we can teach it. I don't think so. Right. Okay. So with that said, getting back to manufacturing theories, the idea of every production is to eliminate bottlenecks, right? To work on increasing our capacity. So what can be done today? I think, to be honest, I'm not gonna tell anything particularly new. Nothing has changed a lot in how we approach PRs, in how we approach code reviews, but there are some tweaks that are reasonable for the current times. So first, a very classical thing, the PRs should be very small, should be atomic, should be comprehensible, and yeah, this remains. It is unrealistic to expect that you can review an 800-liner using appropriate judgment. So yeah, we just don't do that. Then I think it is now obvious that AI is very good at first pass reviews, and so we have to leverage that. But the final say remains on a human. And this also means that as humans, when we review code, we shouldn't really pay attention to small details, but rather look at the higher level things, like at intent, at the consequence this code brings, at the maybe future boundaries that we are building in the system right now. So like things that are possible for us because we know more than just the context of this single PR. Right, okay. But with that said, we need to be honest with ourselves. It is obvious that AI is getting better and better at code reviews, and I think the trajectory overall is that all the mechanical parts of reviews will go away, and what will be left for us is the more high-level reviews. And in my belief, this will stay like that. So this makes sense because no model knows the history of your system. No model feels the code base becomes too fragile. No model can push back because it feels that something doesn't feel wrong and doesn't feel right, sorry. So yeah, this gap is gonna stay, and I believe we as a human reviewer will remain the last word in these reviews. But as I said, many things will be automated. And now I make a pause and say hello to Atakan. Hello. Right, okay. So yeah, many things will become automated. And this will mean that there will be a lot of time freed up for us engineers. And again, the bottleneck will move. And now if you had to ask me where, I would say it's gonna be upstream. So I think that there are some areas which AI cannot own. These areas are characterized by high ambiguity, by a lot of uncertainty, by interpersonal communication. So all of the things that are maybe not very traditional for engineers are becoming more and more owned by us. So in my perspective, the boundary between product thinking and product engineering is dissolving. And we, as engineers, will have to go upstream to come closer to the user, closer to the business. We need to understand the value of what we are building, what we are solving for. And I believe those engineers will succeed in this era who are open to work in this highly ambiguous environment. Yeah. Okay. So in short, this whole shift of mindset, I called it an orchestrator shift. So I believe that, this is what we are living into. This is how we are all evolving. And I think that those engineers will become successful who embrace this change and who are open to, to expand their ownership further and further away from coding. So we are becoming these orchestrators, and orchestrators are not just people who orchestrate technical systems, but way, way, way beyond that. And in these new times, I have identified 4 core principles, I would say, on how to be efficient in this time. So my 4 principles. First is about attention. So again, this is not something particularly new, but attention has become even a more scarce resource. And here, in my opinion, what every engineer has to do is to be very picky about where the time goes. If you find yourself doing any job, any work that can be done by AI, that's for sure a misallocation of your cognitive capabilities. Whatever can be automated has to be automated. Whatever can be outsourced to AI has to be. So if you find yourself, writing boilerplate code, or maybe fixing a syntax error, or maybe writing unit tests which are very similar and generic, I think you have to reassess what you're doing with your time. At the same time, the new workflow kind of makes us to be context switching a lot. And we know that it is not easy and has never been. And I think this has been becoming a more and more important skill to have, to be able to split your work so that you can easily pick it up once you have time, to be able to make notes, to give some trace of context so that, it is easier. It's never easy in reality, but it is easier to come back to something you've been working on, because the new workflows which are emerging these days are implying a lot of context switching, and I think that's only gonna get worse, so to say. Right. Then the next thing is nitpicking. So historically, we have been taught that mastery is defined by many things, but also by paying a lot of attention to details. I think this has evolved a little bit, and now mastery is about knowing which details are important. So today, that a lot of code is written by AI, a lot of code is analyzed by AI as well. many things are okay to be let go, and we have to learn to do this. It's not very easy after many years of being very precise. But yeah, you have to make a very conscious choice of whether something needs your attention or not, of whether something deserves to be addressed or it's just like a style thing and like it will work either way and will be stable either way. So yeah, that's something we as senior engineers have to learn. As I said already, the architectural things, the higher level intent belongs to us. That's what we have to be responsible for. The next is, I think, the most important one. We need to start working closer to our users. Previously, senior engineers could work based on the requirements written by someone else. So we would be brought like a specification or something, and we would just build whatever is required from us. I think people who position themselves like that nowadays are at a very high risk. That's the problem here is that solving for what is explicitly defined is something AI is very good at. And we don't want to compete with AI. We need to work in synergy, but not trying to replace AI. So yeah, we need to be open to being closer to business, closer to users. That's where our growth and success is. And the last one is about the responsibility. So it is very easy to trust AI. We see that the results are very often correct, coherent, they make sense, the code works. And in this feedback loop, as we see that AI is doing great, it is very easy to start, just trusting it blindly. And that's the problem. I think that no one will argue that the responsibility in the end is still ours. If something breaks in production at night, they will page you, not the model. So I think with that in mind, we have to remember to double check AI, to communicate openly with our colleagues when we are uncertain about something. The moment we start just trusting it blindly, we stop being engineers and we just become transcribers, and we don't want that. So like my summary of that, we need to hold our agency. We need the last word has to be ours. Okay, so these are my principles, and I think that's everything I wanted to tell. So I will finish up this by again repeating the obvious. Our job has changed, and there is no way back. And I don't think there should be. Realistically, the environment has changed a lot. But what's important is that changed doesn't mean diminished. The role of a senior engineer is now mostly about orchestrating, setting constraints, validating reasoning, finding elegant solutions, validating good abstractions. So we need to be, for that, we need to be closer to the user, we need to be closer to the business problem. The coding itself is almost, today I say almost automated, but the judgment still has to be ours. And if we get this right, if we manage to switch our mindset to work in this environment, in this setup, if we are able to bring our taste, our years of experience, our many mistakes we learned the hard way, our wisdom, if I can say so, we will shape how the engineering looks like in this new era, and we will shape how a successful engineer looks like in this new environment. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Olena, thanks a lot for a really great presentation. It's like really trendy topic, I would say.
Yeah.
If you have questions first, maybe you can start, and then I can.
Yeah, I just have one question, especially like this is what we are having as a transformation today, also at like our works and stuff. I was just wondering, do you see any changes anytime soon in terms of red band process? Like, on banks, there's PCI environments with the compliance things, which
Mm.
you need like access request, all those things, or change request and other stuff. Do you think the AI will also affect that part too? In terms of how it affected the engineering side of the things? Because right now, I think they're going to a place where that is becoming the bottleneck.
Yeah, I think this boils down again to judgment. I think there are like some smaller companies which are maybe more open to take some risks. Um, and I think there are also companies which are not open to take any risks at all. So yeah, I think this will largely depend on how the work is structured in the company and how the company is itself. I can definitely see the future where some of it is taken by AI, but again, similar to code reviews, I think that a human reviewer will be mandatory for a long time, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have questions. I mean, I can talk about this topic like hours about
Mhm.
AI, but the main thing is that I always think about this. Let's say, I remember like my school time when I used to calculate by hand, like without like using calculator. I was like more kind of creative thinking and like I was really fast at like calculating stuff. And the moment basically I graduated from school, I started like using calculator, and after that, just doing some simple calculations like takes you time, like because technology brings like both advantages and disadvantages. And now like my main question is that at the moment I know that like a lot of developers all over the world right now they just try to speed up their production cycles and just push a lot of code. Like how do you think that, for example, if like people are going to rely on AI a lot, like are they gonna use like their creativity, like how to write clean code, or just basically think about the security? Because before, like if the people like write by themselves, they are thinking about that, right? But now if AI doing this thinking part for themselves, so basically they are losing their coding ability that they can produce like quality thing. How they can basically try to balance this, like for example, not using AI daily basis, or like what's your kind of take on this?
I think this is a very valid concern. And what you said to me makes complete sense about this calculation in your mind. I think that it is inevitable that we will become worse at manual coding. But I think that's not a big problem, to be honest. I think this is just the natural evolution and similar to how we used to work without IDEs, and then IDEs appeared, and the whole development flow, yeah, changed. But also maybe we lost some skills of, I don't know, looking through source base and finding yeah, working with Git maybe through console or things like that. So you lose these things, but is this a problem? I wouldn't say so, because the technology allows us to shift our focus to something else. So you will lose, I think, how it sounds not very nice, but each of us will lose some of the coding skills. But what's important is that we not just forget how to code and not get anything else in return, but we have to learn something else. And that's why I'm talking here in this talk about increasing the scope, because these are not just new responsibilities, but also new skills that we have to learn. So yeah, you will free up some of this from coding, but you will learn something new. And it's important that we as engineers continue pushing ourselves. We have been always doing this, and we have to continue doing this, learning more and more things every day.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think it's important, like, to keep at least like analytical thinking.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Otherwise, yeah, it's gonna be tough. And also, like another question was that about security. You mentioned that, for example, like in your case, like in your experience at the moment, how do you handle this? Let's say AI and LLMs, like third-party LLMs, beside Visual, I don't know, if you have coding and there is like API keys or sensitive company internal logic that it shouldn't be outsourced, like how do you handle those cases?
Yeah, to be honest, I cannot answer because I have no idea. At HubSpot, we have everything set up for us. We have our enterprise accounts and we can just use them. That's it. Of course, I don't have access to any tokens, any secrets, no nothing. So like I cannot share it with AI even if I wanted. So yeah, I think in a bigger company like HubSpot, this is already pre-set up so that it is safe. Yeah, so I cannot say anything about smaller setups. Like I have never set it up on my own.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think we could wrap up here. Olena, thanks a lot for your valuable feedbacks and like thoughts about how this AI and coding has been changed. And guys, that was it. That was the end of DevStandup episode 30. And if you would like to be our next guest speaker or know someone, you could fill the form under the description of this video, and our team will contact you, and then we can set up our next session. But yeah, apart from that, I would like to thank Olena for her time and valuable knowledge to sharing with us. And see you guys, and see you in our next DevStandup. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.